We've avoided talking about a man for long enough. This guy does exist. Trent Alexander-Arnold. Yeah, I know.
He's a good player.
That's a slur around your fan base.
I quite remember this guy you're referring to.
Who took the corner taken quickly? Was it Connor
wearing
Rudley?
number 66. Was it not Joe Gomez?
Joe Gomez was fantastic that night.
That took the corner.
Everyone kind of gives him the credit. It was such a perfect ball in to Origi. Going across his body.
You know what it is? No 20-year-old is daring to do that.
That's for
You
me.
get
The pass is
you
brilliant.
get a corner, you just take a corner, and you get the two giants to come up. Van Dijk and Matip come up because you've got a corner, and this is our chance. You don't do that.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Rematch. I'm your host, Lias Bouzidi, and today we are joined by the wonderful Lawrence McKenna.
Oh, wow.
And
Thank you.
the wonderful, I was thinking of a different adjective I could give
That's
you there.
okay.
The
Enigmatic.
fantastic, the enigmatic, I like that.
Idris Elba lookalike, whatever you want to say.
I think you are the Idris Elba of audio.
Yeah.
He goes by
Just
many
the voice.
things, but he is Ade Oladipo.
He's hijacking this podcast.
There you go.
Very good.
We are here gathered today to speak about one of the most historic, exciting, and in my opinion, depressing Champions League semifinals.
Ooh.
Barcelona versus Liverpool, or rather Liverpool versus Barcelona at Anfield. A huge comeback, which at this point just feels like another day in Europe for Liverpool. But a game that just had a bit of everything. 3-0 down in the first leg. Although, as we were saying, not really feeling like a 3-0 at the time.
It was one of those ones where, because of the nature of Barcelona's goals, like the free kick, that was a world-class moment, who beat Allison, the best goalkeeper in the world at the time. It felt like the game got away from us. And we didn't at all look, like we were, we might get into this. We were at Barcelona over the full 180 minutes. And we just weren't lucky in that first leg. But I remember walking out the bar and going, how did we not score? Like, why are we 3 goals back? Yeah. But there was this weird kind of, I don't know, it's hard to explain. You can't quite capture it, but there was a feeling we weren't out the tie. And I think a lot of people going to Anfield that night will have had a similar feeling.
Did you feel that way, Ade?
No, I thought we were done.
Really?
I thought we were done. Yes, the first leg, we didn't get the rub of the green, right? I mean, Salah had a couple of good chances. I actually thought Klopp maybe got the formation wrong in the first leg. I remember Nabi Keita started, got injured, Henderson came on, Wijnaldum was playing sort of left side of the front three. And I was like, he's done a few things wrong. But no, I just felt like any team that has Messi is going to score, regardless of it being at Anfield. And I thought if they score 1, we're not scoring 4 or 5.
There was even a tweet from Barcelona during that game. It was like, we're down 1-0 here, but if we score 1,
if we score 1, they need 5.
And we're going to get 1, aren't we?
And we're going to get 1, right?
And
that was so famous.
Yeah, and you're thinking they're going to get 1. They've got maybe the best, at the time, number 9 in the world, in Luis Suarez. 1 chance, 1 goal, man. They've got Messi, who is the genius, Ballon d'Or, as you were saying before we started recording. And they've got Coutinho, who there's still this kind of thing, him against Liverpool. Like, is he going to do it against one of his former sides? The way in which he did it for Bayern Munich against Barcelona, do you remember? A few years after. So I remember thinking, they're going to get 1. And let's not forget, there's no Firmino. There's no Salah. Do you know what I mean? So you're thinking, 1 second.
When he puts it like
so
that.
Who's going to score for us? Who's going to score the 4 goals we need when those 2 superstars aren't playing? So no, I wasn't confident at all, regardless of the, Liverpool nights under the lights at Anfield. I wasn't confident.
Before we get into the game, just how good was Leo Messi in that first leg? Because you're talking about how you felt that it wasn't really a 3-0 game and you did deserve more, but was he just the difference on the night?
Do you know what it is? It's also a mismatch of so many different ideas. Like Barcelona and Liverpool are very similar, but there were so many different things that are different between the 2 clubs. And when I was watching back this game, I was thinking, how many games did you walk into where styles make fights? And it was the style of Klopp versus the style of Barcelona. And normally, Klopp's style, we felt at the time like it was the sort of prevailing idea of like aggression and pressing.
Overpowers you.
We were just overpowering everyone, right? And we weren't even at our peak at that point. But the thought was, we would make you feel helpless. But what Messi did was made us feel that helplessness. Yeah. And it was very rare in the Premier League that we ever felt that. And it was very rare that we felt that in Europe as well, because we were just so dominant of so many different sides. So when we're on the other end of it, it really didn't feel nice to have Messi just kind of doing what he wanted.
Yeah, that free kick, I mean.
And we just never quite got a handle on him, right?
No, and not only that, but we had, there was always a debate, right? But we had, I think, maybe one of the best defensive midfielders in Firmino. And we definitely had the best centre-back in the world. That was peak Virgil van Dijk. That's no injury.
He came second in the Ballon d'Or that year.
Exactly, and he should have won it that year. So I'm thinking, we've got enough to control Messi to an extent, right? Messi can never be controlled, but we've got enough to make sure that he doesn't pull the strings. He started pulling strings, and I'm like, oh my God, there's levels to this.
Yeah.
It felt a bit like AC Milan 04-05 in terms of
Kaka.
This is maybe another level that we can't go to. When Messi started doing it, and the free kick, I mean, you mentioned we've got the best goalkeeper in the world maybe at the time, and you're thinking he isn't going to score past Allison like that. And when he did, I thought, okay, that's game over, we're done.
And it was so late in that game as well. Because 2-0, you're sort of thinking, okay, let's just get back to Anfield, and that's bridgeable. Yeah. And then when they scored that free kick, it really was a dagger. And I think at that point, when Allison looks quite dejected, the whole team look... Allison was normally like a very popular kind of like, you know,
head down,
uplifting, slumped. Hey, we'll go home and pray and we'll see what happens kind of thing. Like that was totally his thing.
Get a barbecue, you know.
Absolutely. Put a barbecue on. And generally, I totally invested in that lifestyle, but it just wasn't clicking. But I think what we're also investing a lot in here is like what we saw. I think a lot of what happens in this game is what we don't see behind the scenes. A lot of players now speak about the speech that Klopp gave them before the game, where he speaks about going in there. It's like, if anyone's going to do it, it's going to be you guys. Yeah. And I kind of have this feeling that you guys can do this. And I think most people, towards the end, Klopp's influence on the team at Liverpool was maybe waning a little bit, and there are a few young guys coming through. This would have been the peak of run through the wall for this guy.
Yeah.
And we can believe in this project. The Premier League had gotten away from us, and we're totally there for this.
Yeah, this was it. And you talk about run through, and you look at the midfield that he picked for this game, and it's Fabinho, it's Henderson, it's Milner. That's a midfield of we will run and run and run until we can't run no more. That's it. It isn't necessarily a skillful midfield, although they may be underrated in that element, but it's a midfield of this is a rock.
Yeah.
That we aren't going to concede because we've got this midfield. Can you free up front? Score. Can Shaqiri... Can Mane and Origi find the goals?
Mane on the right, by the way.
Yeah, interesting.
He swapped over. Yeah. And then Origi through the middle, who hadn't really started that many games for us by that point. And I think, what I will say about that midfield is, I think all of them are the most diligent. That's one of the most diligent midfields you could put together. Yeah. Fabinho is just, where's the space? Plug it. Milner is exactly the same. And there's the breakdown from Pep Lijnders on his, like the coach's manual thing, whatever the format is, great format. He basically breaks down every position and how basically on that night, they were so detailed, but so simple in the way that they wanted to do things that Henderson went out there and was just this machine in that half space from the halfway line up to the penalty area and owned all of that. And you can kind of see that. Like, there is just no space for them to operate between Mane, Henderson, and Trent. They just get trapped all the time. And when they get out of that, maybe there's a bit of space for them to run into. We feel a bit helpless. But if it works, they're ours.
It's interesting, that midfield, because that's kind of around the time as well where, although Hendo was captain, he wasn't a guaranteed starter because everyone was all of a sudden saying, because we were comparing ourselves to City and their midfield had more technical players and our midfield was very much engine-like. And I think Nabi Keita had come in, again, supposed to be a technical player. We obviously got Thiago a couple of years later, but I think that midfield, it's almost like if it isn't broke, why try and fix it? And I think Klopp tried to fix it a few too many times by trying to get that creative player.
Yeah. That's the Pep Lijnders era for me.
Yeah, when all of a sudden we were just built like that. Wijnaldum, Fabinho, Henderson, Milner, that's just our midfield.
That's also, the sad thing about Nabi Keita was he never quite clicked at Liverpool. If Nabi Keita clicks, I think we're speaking about Klopp in a completely different way almost. Because what Nabi Keita promised and the halves that we got from him here and there made us look so dynamic and we were so aggressive.
Because he was a bit of like the mix of both, right? He could run, he was industrious, could score goals.
His pressing was, like for quite a small guy, was very effective. He was just really...
Remember, he got the number 8. We thought, obviously not Gerrard-esque, but we thought we'd found something similar.
Buy him for like 70 mil, loan him back so that he could come the next season.
It's like, it was 65, it was in that.
It's a lot of money. It's almost one of those signings that I think people forgot that just didn't land. Like, it didn't land, and we tried. Again, Thiago, very similar. That landed, and we saw sort of bits of it. But to go back to our midfield, that's a midfield. Like, you looked at Barcelona's midfield lineup, and you thought, we could beat you.
Especially because these days, this is Iniesta has gone the season prior. Xavi's been gone a few years. They're playing 4-4-2 under Valverde, right? You got Vidal as a right midfield. They're almost doing all the dirty work for Messi. You got, it's a bit similar to what Szoboszlai was doing for Salah last season, right? You got, and Vidal, by the way, is no longer at his Juve Bayern best. He's towards the end of his career. Rakitic is, for me, not at his best anymore. Busquets is coming towards the end of it.
Busquets is still Busquets, but you're right. Without Xavi and Iniesta, it's a different Busquets.
100%. It feels like a midfield that if they're lacking anything, it's legs.
Yeah. If I'm Hendo, I'm looking at that midfield and thinking, boys, we got to have him.
Yeah.
Like, like just old school English grit. Look at that midfield. Like, forget all the niceties. Let's just get straight in. And you're right about Hendo operating in that kind of half space. And I mean, that's where the first goal came from. That's Hendo's run saying, okay, I can see something here. Jordi Alba's going to make a mistake. I'm going to push on like he was told to. And Hendo's engine, like Hendo's maybe one of the most underrated midfielders the Premier League's ever seen. Like his work rate from covering Trent at right back to kind of getting involved and trying to score goals and just up and down. Like, he must be the equivalent of like, I don't know, an old school 1970s Mercedes-Benz that's got like 200,000 miles on it that can still keep on going.
I do always think if you play for a team that many times, then captain them, and
You've got to be good.
Yeah, like Jurgen Klopp's not an idiot, right? He's not playing you as a Make-A-Wish kid here, right? You're in the team because you offer something. Yeah, and I do think his selflessness.
Now, like Thomas Tuchel saying, I need you back in the England squad.
I think
even
that's massively
now,
underrated.
You know what I mean? Think about that for a second. Yeah.
Why no one understands why Henderson is in this England squad shows that barely anyone takes the time to go to training and see that the only voice you can hear at training for England is Jordan Henderson. Because Harry Kane isn't a shouter, and there isn't really anyone else in the squad with a voice like that.
Jude shouts, but...
And obviously, I got to spend a little bit of time with Jordan Henderson. We made a documentary on him, and we were asking a lot of his teammates about that intensity. And actually, the person who gave the greatest insight was Jota. He was saying, when I'm out on the field, there's times where maybe my focus, it's not that it goes, and he's not like a late, you know what I mean? But he says, just as where maybe the game might be slipping away from us, Hendo just pushes you. And if you miss something, he's totally on every little mistake. If you press wrong, he's on that mistake. And so he was sharpening and keeping people at the very height of their performance, whilst also being the guy who does his own role. Yeah. But the thing that was interesting about Klopp was, I said to Klopp, why is Hendo your captain? And he was like, because he was the captain when I arrived. And it was like, I didn't name him captain. I just didn't have anyone else.
You have to maintain that captaincy, right?
But that was kind of the point that he made. It was like, the reason he maintained the captaincy was the trust that I had and the fact that I could go to him and I knew that every player respected him in the dressing room. And it's not that, so many players you could respect in that room, Van Dijk and all those guys. But Van Dijk was coming to the peak of his powers then. And there was already a lot of pressure on him to perform. Milner was kind of not the Liverpool guy. Yeah. Henderson was this perfect figure at Liverpool. He was exactly what we needed then. And I think there's a lot of people that kind of forget, in all the games he's done for Liverpool, where the big moments have happened, they've always got players that were exactly what we needed at that time. It's not about you're the best midfielder that's ever existed. And I think a lot of this shows the style was the thing that really made Klopp. And it's equally that. When you see the first goal go in and Origi puts in that rebound, on the bench, everyone's pretty stony-faced. So I can't remember who it was. Who was on the bench that night?
Lovren, Gomez, Sturridge, Mignolet, Brewster, Woodburn, Wijnaldum.
So it might be Gomez who's sitting on the bench. That's his face. Just chewing the gum and kind of like not reacting because they know there's more. Klopp is in front of him, pumping his fists and just looking at the crowd.
The most important one,
well, it was just like we can break, and it was so early.
It's how quick the first goal came.
We can break these
you're talking
guys.
The 6th minute.
But Klopp is on the side going, we can do this, and no one else in that stadium, in player terms, is going, we're going to do this. It's Klopp who's going, drive these guys. If I show the belief, they will show that belief too, and it worked.
I always feel though, right, that when you lose the first 3-0, at times it's almost a blessing in disguise, right? Because if you lose that game 1-0, 2-1, yes, you're in with a bigger chance, but there's more pressure, right?
Sure.
I feel like 3-0, you almost go into it. What do you have to lose?
What do you have to lose? You're going to go swinging.
Yeah, 100%.
You go into it like that as well. Like almost, you're right. It's almost a free swing because there's no Salah and there's no Firmino.
Yeah, there's no pressure on you.
So you've lost your best player, arguably one of the best players in the world, and you've lost your number 9. So Klopp's almost got an inbuilt excuse as, well, I didn't have my best 11 out. Yeah. So there's genuinely no pressure. Shaqiri doesn't start for Liverpool. He's almost been that super sub. Origi's the cult hero super sub. So it's players in weird positions. So it's almost like, look, guys, it's Messi, it's Suarez, it's Barcelona. I had to go.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you come out swinging like that, like it is a free hit, and you got the Anfield crowd behind you, and it's under the lights, magic can happen, dude. Magic can happen.
That first goal is huge, but give credit to Barca. They really responded well. And a few big chances falling to the guys you wanted to fall to. Messi had a chance. Coutinho had a chance. Suarez has a chance in the second half. But those are the players that are paid the big bucks.
Quite quick.
Yeah.
Like that Messi chance you mentioned was on like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Where it drops to Messi where Messi wants
and
it to drop to.
And that Jordi Alba Messi combination, we've seen it so many times.
Ridiculous.
Like,
It's almost too fast.
It's telepathic, yeah.
Yeah, as much as we talk about we had that engine midfield, Messi goes through that midfield like a hot knife through butter.
Yeah.
Like he leaves Fabinho. Yeah. Like Fabinho's trying, and that is Fabinho. That's not Fabinho that fell off a cliff. That's Fabinho. And Messi just skips.
He's got like a force
him.
field around him sometimes when he dribbles, man.
It's ridiculous. And then you're thinking, there's one where Coutinho flicks it around the corner, and you're thinking, oh, this is maybe a bit too much for us. Like, what we're going to do. So I wasn't even when it went 1-0 early, I still wasn't at home thinking, okay, we're on. I'm still thinking they're going to score somehow.
Do you know what else it is? I think we're overlooking the long-term memory of this Klopp side. So in this Klopp team, we've already had the comeback against Borussia Dortmund at Anfield, or the levelling of the game in the Europa League. Immediately after that, there was the Villarreal game. This was the end, or the kind of the peak of the belief that we had there at that point. It was the beginning of that. It was the beginning of that apex. And what we'd had up to that point was the experience of we were second best in the end to a lot of teams, Spanish sides. And what we hadn't been was savvy. And I think we regretted in that first leg that we weren't savvier and hadn't played the game that we should have played and leveled it up. There's a chance, by the way, that if we come out of that first game, we're level.
Is that a Klopp thing as well? Is that a player thing or just a Klopp thing? Like Klopp not being.
I felt Fergie was a prisoner of that a few times as well to a Man United manager, where it's like we weren't savvy enough in Europe, and sometimes
Pep as well.
Yeah, 100%.
And I wonder if the top managers second guess themselves.
I think that's why Ancelotti in Europe is so good at times because he's
never second guesses himself.
100%.
But pressing can look a bit naive sometimes if the other team have got an easy solve for it, and that's how we looked a little bit against Barcelona in that first leg. But the savviness. Really, I think we had it proven to us by Real Madrid in that first final, when, let's do the arm bar and all this kind of thing, and we weren't. I think Klopp saw we didn't quite have the guts.
We weren't street smart. Yeah.
Exactly, and the guts that we didn't show in that were totally present here. And then when we went in against Spurs, that was just a continuation of that same savviness. People talk about that final being boring.
It was savvy. Liverpool made it boring.
We managed that game so well. And we didn't care if we scored the penalty. It was just us getting over the line for that. And Spurs had a similar idea. So in this game, this is very much the fruition of a year before this, Real Madrid had beaten us. And we knew that we couldn't put in those same performances, which is why in that midfield and Robbo, you've got guys who are going to go out there and basically put it in their face and be like, put in a tackle on someone tonight, I'll see you in 2 minutes. Milner's there, Hendo's there, Fabinho's nasty, Robertson. That wasn't there against Madrid. No one did enforcement against Sergio Ramos. Someone should have been putting Sergio Ramos's jaw out of place after he did that to Salah, but no one touched him.
Yeah,
I don't mean in terms of actually breaking his, you know what I'm saying? But the point is, we had that in this game. Robbo there's no respect for Messi.
Talk to me about that moment, right? That's a big moment. Robertson's spoken about it around the years.
That's a welcome to Anfield moment. That's the case of we've not come here just to watch you do your little tricks and your flicks and do whatever you normally do in La Liga. This is you're basically playing a European game, but you're playing it on a Premier League pitch.
Right.
And this is how it's going to be. There's always been those conversations about could Messi, obviously he could, but could Messi do it on a wet night in Stoke? This was your welcome to Stoke City moment where I'm just going to give you a little push on the head to know that we've not come to mess around.
He messes with his hair. It isn't
Messi
a
looks
slap.
around. Messi looks around who done that? How dare you? I'm going to get you back.
But it's also because it's not as if it's two technical peers. So it's not like it's one guy who's going love you. We're both in the same group. It's Robbo going, tonight, we are the same level. Yeah. Tonight, we're completely equal.
The word is rattle, right? They rattled them.
They did.
I wonder if that's almost a bit like the early 90s where you're allowed to get a naughty tackle in without getting a yellow card. Or someone says, take the yellow card because someone needs to get hit. It reminds me when Liverpool played Wimbledon.
Savvy.
FA Cup 88, 89. And Vinnie Jones, you weren't in, but Vinnie Jones hit Steve McMahon. Steve McMahon's our hard man. He's supposed to be the leader. Vinnie Jones says, you know what? No, I'm going to smash through you. And all of a sudden, Liverpool kind of whimper. Yeah. And that's almost a bit what Andy Robertson's done there by going to their best player, pushing him in the head, saying, not tonight, son.
Stay down.
By the way, the game's halfway down the field because Messi was tackled, I think wanted the foul, and then the ball's already gone.
And Robertson's running past him and just
referee's looking the other way, and it's sort of like, I also think there was obviously the perception, maybe it doesn't happen so much now with Barcelona, that everything goes Barcelona's way in Europe. Yeah. So if you're reminding them tonight, the ref's not on your side, or it's that feeling, I think all of that tips the scales in our direction.
Conor Bradley did that, remember, to Mbappe?
Twice.
Yeah, he did
this season
exactly
and last.
the same thing. It's almost like, again, welcome to the Premier League. And they don't like that. We've got to show, sometimes when you try and play these European giants who are clearly better footballers technically than you, you've got to do it another way. There are more than one ways to skin a cat. And that's what Klopp was always good at. That's why those Man City versus Liverpool games were so beautiful, because you had Man City who played this technically beautiful game, and Liverpool was just 100 miles per hour.
That's why Pep hated it.
That's why he hated it.
He couldn't
and that's why that Klopp, Anfield, under the lights was always perfect for those type of games.
We get to halftime, and only 1-0, but clearly something is happening. I think the entire stadium can feel it. I think even the Barca players can feel it. And I don't know if you guys have seen the footage, but the halftime dressing room for Barcelona is like a funeral. And it's weird because you're only down 1-0. You're winning 3-1. There's 45 minutes left to play. You've had chances, but that's why I use the word rattle. I think Liverpool rattled Barcelona. And I think the defining image is Jordi Alba, almost on the verge of tears, because the first goal is really his mistake, and I think he's just at 6s and 7s the entire game. But
it's interesting about the halftime with Barca is they've got two former Liverpool players in there.
And you would think they would know.
Yeah, it's almost like, I know they're not those type of players. I don't look at Coutinho as being vocal, or Suarez to an extent either, but they've got two players that understand what this is going to be.
You would think they would have warned them ahead of time.
Very easy, right? It's a conversation. Like, guys, I'm telling you now, when we go back there, this is going to be crazy. And it's almost like they didn't expect it.
Both of them have witnessed. I think they came from a different era where both of them have witnessed. Maybe Coutinho at a push had witnessed this. I think he witnessed the beginning of it. Coutinho wanted out. Yeah. And Klopp said to him, if you want out, remember, you're going to go somewhere else and you'll be a footnote. You'll stay here and you get a statue. And the same with Suarez. Suarez, a witness to Anfield, actually, that didn't work for him.
No.
So I think he's going in there, and I think they're underestimating what's happening. And then Jordi Alba's crying because he's basically got a trifecta of the worst players to be up against. Trent can just hang out crosses. Mane is a nightmare to play against. Like, he's literally the worst player to come up against any player that season. And then on top of that, Hendo is just on the inside between the centre-back and him as a fullback. So it's horrible. His experience must just basically be you're always looking around and you're just disoriented. I think that is something you won't have had that very regularly in this Barcelona team.
If we're being honest, and obviously footballers are supposed to think it's 0-0, that's what they say, right? The second leg, it's 0-0 still. They're 3-0 up. This is a great Barcelona side that are 3-0 up, and they're probably thinking, it's done.
But you have to remember with this Barca team, the year before, they had beaten Roma in the first leg, and the same thing had happened to them in the second leg, where they lost. I think they won first like 4-1. They lose the next like 3-0 out on away goals, and it's that Manolas goal at the end. I almost feel like it's like deja vu is happening again. Yeah. Although it's only 1-0, it's like, are we going to bottle this again? And I think this is what defines this Barca team, who are kind of forgotten now. But let's remember that in the midst of Real Madrid's three-peat of the Champions League, these guys won the league twice in that period. So they were a very good team. But I always felt mentally is where they start to crumble in Europe. Like, the Xavis and Iniestas and Puyols never seemed to really drop their heads. But this Barca team, it did feel like you could get at them mentally. And I think that's what happened this game.
I agree.
Yeah. It's weird because when we think of Barca, you automatically obviously think of Messi. I always think of Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets as the Barca team as well. And as soon as that got split up, and they were trying to find the next Xavi, the next Iniesta, they're almost trying to find sort of missing pieces of the puzzle, and they never got it in that midfield. And that midfield for them was so strong and just
Rakitic
best midfield we've ever seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rakitic is a good player, you're right, but he's
not
not Xavi.
But the problem was they never got the other piece.
Iniesta.
So you got,
I think Coutinho was brought in really to be the replacement, but I think they quickly learned Coutinho's much more of an attacker, and Iniesta just had this quality to him. Oh my goodness! But let's talk the halftime for Liverpool, right? Because I think the player that always gets maybe overlooked in this game, even though he had the biggest impact, is Wijnaldum, right? I think we talk about the Trent assist, we talk about Origi,
I love
but
him.
Gini Wijnaldum, I mean, he's spoken about how infuriated he was to be left out of this game.
Yeah.
And you talk about a guy playing with a chip on his shoulder. That's Wijnaldum coming into the second half, right?
And also, by the way, he hadn't ever really played that position really for Liverpool.
No. No.
And for Newcastle, he always had, right? He was the goal scorer in that team.
He was 10 when he arrived
We
at
bought him as a goal scoring midfielder.
Yeah.
Like
he scored 4 against Norwich.
Yeah, he
for
scored 11 in that season that we bought him.
Yeah.
Which, as a midfielder nowadays, I mean, you're talking Ballon d'Or conversations, right? I mean,
Yeah,
Declan Rice, right? That's what we bought. That's what we bought him as. So he's always been capable of doing that.
Yeah.
But I think people forget about that game. Like me watching it back, I almost forgot that. I was like, when Wijnaldum came on, who did he come off for? I mean, who did he come on for? And I just forget that Andy Robertson came off, not because he was injured, because Klopp was like, okay, we need to change something up. That's an incredible. Like, everyone talks about what Rafa did 04-05 with Dietmar Hamann coming on. This is as impactful.
100%.
Like Robertson coming off and Wijnaldum coming on, and the impact he had immediately needs to be studied a bit.
And I love Wijnaldum. Wijnaldum literally said, they were talking to me at halftime. These are your instructions. It all went out, went in one ear, out the other. Like he said, I completely ignored the tactical instruction. In fact, the goals that he scores, the late runs into the box, I wouldn't be surprised if that's all his own. That's just a good player in that moment saying, forget all the noise. I'm just going to do what I think is the best decision in this set.
That you can kind of make sense of that because actually, if you look at the replay, he's quite close to a couple of other players. So it would make no sense for him to crash the same space as everyone else. But it's clearly instinctive and he's clearly just desperate to get those goals.
Yeah.
I also think he was brought in to overload certain spaces and he was probably just told, get out there and be a nuisance because look at them. But also, you can see, what's interesting is we obviously took off Robbo. Everyone forgets because of Trent what a good cross Robertson has on him.
Yeah, he can whip a ball in, man.
But we did have another good crosser on that side as well. And Shaqiri's a really good crosser of the ball.
He's such a good footballer in general.
He was so good. I mean,
he's
the fact
so talented.
Like such a good super sub, and I hate to. He's more than that, right? But
he never started games and won them for us.
Bro, for Switzerland, I mean, even across
he was
the
the
years
man
in
for Switzerland for a
tournaments.
decade.
But his left foot was it Oxlade-Chamberlain? They were asking who has the best left foot at Liverpool. He's like, it's Shaqiri, man. Like Salah's great. Shaqiri has a wand of a left foot.
Also, it was a fat wand.
Yeah, he's got Roberto Carlos legs.
He's like a hockey player, basically, his legs. Like, he's built like a hockey player. And his leg was as wide as my torso. Yeah. He was huge.
To have a player like that coming off the bench is a luxury, man. Like,
and with the Wijnaldum thing, again, that's Liverpool's best Premier League midfield, for me. That Fabinho, Henderson, Wijnaldum. Obviously, Milner's there, but he kind of drops back into the left-back position. That's the midfield. That's it. That's the engine room. When I think of Klopp, and I think of those battles with Arsenal and City and in Europe, that's my midfield that I pick because I think it's the midfield that just controls and makes me feel like, okay, we're going to be okay. But the first goal, he's done that before those late runs for Newcastle, not necessarily for Liverpool. The second one, I mean, Wijnaldum's 5'8", at a push, do you know what I mean? And that header is just...
It's Gerrard-esque.
It's Gerrard-esque.
The flick of the neck is almost exactly like Gerrard does. Like that weird thing that Gerrard does in Istanbul. It's very reminiscent of that.
And there's nothing more satisfying than you head a ball like that and the goalkeeper is rooted. I think that's the
when
most
they
satisfying
don't move,
thing. It's so
that's
satisfying, bro.
Yes.
Oh my God.
It's also, it goes into a perfect space in that goal. That means if he had moved, it wouldn't have been irrelevant anyway. And at that point, I think Anfield's gone insane by then.
No, Anfield's not gone insane. Anfield's not gone quiet from the second goal.
We really
like, I remember it was like 55 and 57 or something, wasn't it? So it was
56,
50, so we're still applauding from the first goal that he scored, and then it's, oh my God, like, it's crazy. So Momentum. It doesn't stop. The noise doesn't stop.
When are you guys thinking, oh, we're in it? Is it the second one, or is it only when you get the third one? The second one is like, there's enough time on the clock.
Yeah, now I'm like, it's on.
We've also, obviously, we've got a history of scoring 3.5. Within a very short space of time, and I think everyone just believed. Again, this was the culmination of a lot of things, I think, for us. And it was, this team had a real chip on its shoulder because obviously everyone was saying if you don't win the Premier League, you're not relevant. The Champions League it felt like it was like a secondary thing because Klopp was brought in to win the Premier League. But the fact that we had that opportunity, we just weren't going to let that slip.
No. And then, Barca continue having chances, even though it's like it does feel like the inevitable is bound to happen, and then it does. And
no, dude. Even before you get there, though, Suarez's opportunity.
Well, I was going to say Suarez had that
when
chance.
He goes through, and
Jordi Alba, I think, as well too.
Yeah, Suarez has one though. Obviously, he scuffs, but you're thinking, oh, he's scoring. This is Suarez. He's through on goal. Like we've seen that plenty of times for Liverpool and plenty of times for Barcelona, where it's gonna nestle into the top corner, and he scuffs it. And that's when you start thinking, well, 1 second. Something's happening here. Like they're missing their chances.
I even forgot to mention in the first, like that Dembele chance at the end. That kills it. That's 4-0. That's game over.
We went by 5 if that's the case. But but the point is, I also think that the one name we've not really spoken about is Allison.
Yeah, there's so many big saves, man.
Allison, I think Allison is underestimated now for what he's doing at Liverpool. But in that era, he did so much for us. Because he never really was Edison playing at the back, and Edison was always that Brazilian goalkeeper. But Allison, in terms of XG stopped, was the best ever in the Premier League.
Can I say this about Allison, right? I remember when he first came to the Prem the first few years, I never really understood the hype about him because I was of the De Gea school, and I'm seeing these wonder saves and these, and I was the Allison. I'm like, he doesn't really make those saves, and then I started to realize he never makes those saves because he positions himself so well that he makes the hard saves look easy.
It must. So that's what I think about.
And that's the thing with De Gea. De Gea does the camera saves.
Perfect.
Like, wow, like it's the most crazy thing. Allison never makes those.
Allison
he never has
palms
to.
it.
Yeah.
So when De Gea's reaching and rolling back out and then going, "Yay, I'm the guy," Allison's literally just going, "Got it.
Yeah.
Right, where's the ball now?" And it must be so demoralizing as a midfielder to look at him and go, "Did he just pick the ball out the air?"
Do you remember his first season though when he came, and it might have been against Brighton? And the ball came to him and he flicked it over the player's head.
But he'd also, in a few games before that against Leicester, where he made the mistake and got picked.
And I remember thinking, oh my God, what have we got here? Like, don't do this. Like this is not what we bought you for. And then he just became the best goal. Like, Alisson's been so good that Allison, finally, we've got a Liverpool goalkeeper that's in the conversation with Cech and Schmeichel as like the best goalkeeper ever in the Premier League.
I think he's the best Premier League goalkeeper.
But I think he's phenomenal at what he does. And I can understand the Edison thing because Edison's so much better in terms of ball out from the back. But I've always said one gets picked for Brazil and one doesn't.
Yeah.
And Alisson's just that guy. And not his as well. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's the guy that's always like, pray for G. You know, he's always got the top. Like, he's a nice guy.
Baptized Firmino, no?
Yeah? Baptized Firmino. They were both
Firmino.
That was very unusual footage. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's such a sweet moment, but they're both sobbing into each other's arms. And I remember at that moment thinking, oh, wow, Klopp's got a team here. Because if you've got people that will like bond like that, and I think religion is a big part of what Klopp does. He needs people who have a very specific mentality. Ibrahim Konate is going down whatever A road it is to get to the AXA. Absolutely. He's playing the Quran like it is house music. And the same for Salah, extremely religious guys, Mane, Firmino, everyone in that team. There was a foundation of belief that I think Klopp has I don't think he's a particularly religious guy, but he has this kind of foundational need for the psychology that he can almost manipulate. And it just works within that side. I also think with the thing with Allison, XG doesn't say how wide the goalkeeper is. XG doesn't go, so against this goalkeeper is 6'4", whatever it is.
They just look at the quality of the shot.
They just look at the quality of the shot. And so Alisson's incredibly underrated because when you meet him, he's wide.
That's Schmeichel-esque. Yeah. He's a presence.
He's big. Yeah. And I think a lot of people used to talk about his weight, but like he's just a big guy. And he's so...
kind of throwback 90s goalkeeper.
Yeah. Right. Even at his slimmest, he's stocky.
He's still, there's nothing you would never call him like, De Gea was quite wiry almost.
De Gea was slim. Very
he was
slim.
limbs. Whereas Alisson's all body. And I think that's a very intimidating thing for a player to come up against.
He reminded me a lot of Van der Sar, honestly. Van der Sar for us was a bit like that, especially too. Van der Sar never really made like the craziest saves, but again, his positioning was just
that's what it is.
So good.
It's reading.
His reading is so good.
And it's him having... arguably Van Dijk's best partner. I was going to say, Gomez is close because when Gomez and Van Dijk were together before Gomez got injured, it was fantastic.
But Matip,
I feel like Matip, again, another one, underrated because maybe he was quite gangly.
Yeah.
But I think Allison just trusted those two in front of him. Like that again, that's our best defense, isn't it? It's Trent, Robbo, it's Matip, it's Van Dijk, it's Allison.
That's three dads.
Yeah.
All of those guys have got dad energy. Allison, you'd love him to be your dad. Joel Matip, he's your best friend's dad. Like, Van Dijk, he's the cool dad that turns up at school playing the latest album.
You go to your friend's house and he's like, you guys want snacks, video games?
And he's so laid back with it.
You got beers in the fridge and everyone's like, no way, your dad's like, it's that kind of energy. And
Allison's like, I got something on the grill.
Yeah, exactly. All of them are dads you want to meet, and they're all just solid guys. And Matip is very similar. Like Liverpool always talk about signing Matip and how he was massively underrated. Obviously, we signed him on a free.
Yeah,
we got him on a free because he had a bit of weird injury record. There's that great story that Klopp met. Who was it? The Ian Graham, the analyst. I don't actually know if it's Ian Graham in the hallway, but the story is told. Klopp and the analyst had a meeting, and it was about who they were going to go for in terms of targets that summer. And there's this chance between Klopp and an analyst in the hallway before they get Matip. And Klopp says to one of the analysts, there's a guy I want to... Is he on the list? And the analyst in his head goes, I knew exactly who it was. And he went, Joel Matip. And at that point, they both went, we should get Joel Matip. And he went back and sort of did some digging, and it was like, yeah, this is amazing value. But part of it was that he was massively underrated because of the way he ran, because his feet looked as if they weren't connected to his body.
It's kind of why Fergie used to diss Hendo, isn't it? Same similar thing. Yeah,
runs in a strange way.
Yeah.
And it's very Moneyball of that time of like, oh, he throws in a weird way, or, you know, all these kind of strange things. But he's perfect for this side. And he's also a really weird defender to face because you can't quite tell where his body's going to go. So he looks a bit like a visual
He's gangly.
mirage almost. Yeah.
We've avoided talking about a man for long enough. We talked about Matip. We talked about Allison. This guy does exist. Trent Alexander-Arnold. Yeah, I know.
He's a good player.
That's a slur around your fan base.
I quite remember this guy you're referring to.
Who took the corner taken quickly? Was it Connor
wearing
Bradley?
number 66. Was it not Joe Gomez?
Joe Gomez was fantastic that night.
That took the corner.
I think Trent sort of is easy. I think it's actually quite easy to give him his credit. Like, this is also when you're looking at him, you kind of see why we were so upset when he left because of these memories we had made with him. And everyone kind of gives him the credit. It was such a perfect ball in to Origi. But also, Origi has to do a lot with it. It's going across his body.
You know what it is? No 20-year-old is daring to do that.
That's for me. The pass is brilliant.
You get a corner, you just take a corner, and you get the two giants to come up. Van Dijk and Matip come up because we've got a corner, and this is our chance. You don't do that. You don't even think about doing that. Trent now, maybe 27, okay. Like, you know, a fullback experience would dare to do that. A 20-year-old. Yeah. You think about, like, Connor Bradley's not doing that.
No.
Do you know what I mean? No one's thinking I'm going to do that. Even if you do see Origi in there, with due respect, he pings it to Origi.
Yeah. Perfectly.
Like, you know what I mean? He's not seeing Pete Torres in there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where, okay, he's going to control this perfectly.
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to control.
Also, he takes it first time, and he actually has quite a lot of space, Origi. So Origi goes, I'll just take a shot here. And it's kind of, that's what Origi's perfect at, is instinctive stuff. If he'd had longer to think, I think it flies over the bar
If Origi has a touch,
goes over.
PK's getting back to him, and it's going over, and nothing's there. When Origi doesn't have to think, that's why he's a cult hero and deserves a statue, because when he doesn't think, he's fantastic for Liverpool. But that moment there, I mean, you're in disbelief, really.
Barcelona have also switched off.
Yeah.
It's also because Liverpool have got the corner routines.
Something's going to be. I'm thinking the whistle's going to be blown.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking this isn't allowed. Like, surely this goal is disallowed somehow.
This just sums up to me Barca at this point. Like, again, the Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets team, they don't switch off like this. The Puyol team, Puyol does not switch off in that moment. And this is where I think Barca's fragilities, their frailties are on full display. But I think you got it spot on with Trent. The technique, the pass is brilliant, but it's the audacity to even try it, to even look up. Oh, we don't have anyone in the box bar one guy, but let's go.
You know what? Even though you're right, they are fragile. But when you listen to the very best managers, like when you listen to Arsene Wenger, Pep, and Jose talk about the Liverpool onslaught, like when it comes, they all say, and we're talking three of the best managers we've ever seen, they all say it's almost unstoppable. That there's nothing you can do. Like when it comes in waves like that,
it's a matter of time.
It's a matter of time. Like, and when Liverpool do get on top like that, like those 3 goals were scored in 20 minutes.
It's relentless.
When it comes on top, it's almost too much to handle. And I almost feel like even if it was Iniesta, Xavi, and the peak PK and Puyol, I think once it's happening, it's happening.
And I think also the fact that Van Dijk and those guys were so dangerous, and Van Dijk had that little touch that got Ter Stegen earlier. It's those things where I think the sideshow meant that they just left Divock Origi alone.
Yeah.
And so they were just like, well, it's not him that's the focus
they're thinking
here.
Van Dijk and Matip are about to make
Van
their
Dijk,
way.
Matip, and all these...
Fabinho, all the big 6-footers are making their way. How do we control that?
So they've
That's what they're
evacuated
thinking.
the box.
Yeah.
And essentially, he's just left in that dead space between the two.
At this point,
Don't look too happy about it, by the way.
Well, you seemed a bit like
The body language, everything else.
You know,
I mean,
why are your arms crossed like you're
you weren't
defensive? Like, come on.
Yeah,
dude.
you weren't this way with Rory and McCullough. Come on.
oh, that definitely wasn't.
Yeah.
That definitely was. I got a smile on my face.
See what I'm saying? Look at him.
Look, because here's the thing, right? I'm a Man United fan, so already I don't want Liverpool to win this game. But secondly, Messi is my favorite player.
Right.
Like, Messi's my guy.
And you're 6 at the time. You're very upset about all of
2-0,
this.
fair enough. 2-0,
okay.
fair enough. No, Messi is my guy. So I've wanted him to win the Champions League. Now, there's been so many failures for Barca, and it feels like this is a team that's capable of winning it. So for me, I'm hoping Barca do it. So you couple the two of them, my hatred for Liverpool and my love for Messi, into this game, and I'm like, oh my God, what's happening?
Have you ever been to Anfield?
I played at Anfield.
Oh, there you go.
I imagine the atmosphere is very similar.
2-1 now.
Yeah, very similar.
Have you been
3-1.
Have you been on a game night? Have you been on a game night?
I've never been to Anfield for a game.
Oh,
though.
you should come as our guest.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
As a guess,
Yeah. I'll talk to John. I'll talk to Mr.
Those
Henry.
games when it's on top, especially Klopp period.
Champions League.
I mean, Slot's had a few as well, to be fair to him, but those Klopp games and Benitez and Gerard Houllier in the UEFA Cup.
We never quite had that under Rodgers.
No, I didn't mention him. Yeah, see how I skipped Rodgers for that. Those moments are just insane, where it's wave after wave.
I would love to go to a game at Anfield.
I remember
even as a football fan.
it's kicking towards the cop, and everyone talks about the cop sucking the ball into the net. It literally is that, and all these things are real. Like they genuinely are real.
feeling.
The 12th man, it's a real thing.
The feeling is a thing. Like I went to the Borussia Dortmund Liverpool game when it was the late goals from Sacco and Lovren.
Lovren, yeah.
At half time, we again weren't on to do and score the amount we needed to score. But there were so many people who were just like, yeah, I think we can do this. And there's just an energy, I think, in the stadium that gets kind of...
That's why Liverpool in Champions League, you can never really write them off because those nights at Anfield are just, all logic goes out the window.
And it's why the second leg is kind of quite a scary thing. And I think, obviously, Camp Nou has definitely got there's a similar idea.
Yeah.
But I think fundamentally, there are just some stadiums in Europe where that is...
Oh, of course.
The
And there's
energy,
the fan.
it feels like magic.
Yeah, and there's the fan that was there for that experience. So they will walk to Anfield thinking, dude, I was there when we were 3-0 down to Barcelona. Or I was there when we needed that goal from Gerrard against Olympiacos. There's always a fan experience going into the game thinking, I've seen magic and miracles happen.
And that's why when we did the rematch around the Miracle of Istanbul, we talked about did this game almost go on to create the legacy that Anfield would have in Europe. And a night like this is almost shaped off the nights that preceded it. And
Is
now
this
even
your
the nights
favourite
now.
non-trophy winning game?
Surely has to be, yeah.
There's some big ones. United ones are big. Like when I think of the United games at Anfield, we've battered them. Those seem to, but is this the one?
Those are good games.
Very.
I think just for what it went on to be and how affirming it was, because the final's a bit of a damp squib.
Well, let me ask this. Did you guys feel like this was the final? Like when you won this game, was it in your minds, oh, that's it? Like we were going to win the Champions League?
For me, 100%.
No matter, because it was Spurs Ajax the day after.
No, so we were the first team in the final.
So
and then the day after, we could obviously go on and enjoy this. But also, obviously, at that time, we're thinking, well, we're watching Spurs Ajax, and we're thinking we're going to play Ajax in the final.
Granted, Ajax were a really good team.
Ajax were a really good team, and that was a very different proposition, I think. I think if Ajax turn up on that day, that's kind of like this game, where it's like there's a bit of a mismatch of styles. Spurs, we just cancelled that because we were sort of dominating the Premier League in a similar way at that time. Obviously, City were as well. This felt in that moment like, right, whoever we face in the final, this is like Istanbul.
Yeah, there's a hierarchy in Europe. And unless we're playing Real Madrid, I feel like Liverpool will beat anyone. Obviously, it's Liverpool, it's AC Milan. In terms of trophies won, isn't it? It's Real Madrid, AC Milan,
Liverpool,
those teams,
Bayern,
Liverpool.
yeah.
So anyone else that we play that's not those two, I'm thinking, bring it on. Because I do believe that there is. That's why I feel like it took Man City so long to get over the hump. Because if you don't have that European experience, it's a big thing. And Liverpool, again, that's why I hate when we play Real Madrid, because all of a sudden we're playing a team that is bigger than us in Europe.
There's not many.
God,
Because they believe in the same way we believe.
The way we do, yeah. So when we're playing against them, I'm like, anyone else, I'm like, we should be beating you. Regardless of where we are in the league, regardless of the form. If we get you back to Anfield and we've got a small chance, anything can happen.
Yeah.
How important is this game in terms of the Klopp era, right? Like if Liverpool don't win this and you already don't win the league, do you go on to win what you do in
Pressure
in the
was on him
future?
at that point. I think a lot of people don't remember
100%.
that.
I remember going to that final with Pochettino versus Klopp. Both of them haven't won anything yet. If Liverpool lose that final as well to Spurs, what does that look like?
Losing that to Spurs is definitely
huge.
It's quite humiliating as well, I think, to lose to Poch and Spurs like that, because they weren't seen as the force, and they obviously still aren't. But they were a good team at that time.
Oh, they were coming towards the end. I think in the league, actually, they were pretty poor. But yeah, they were, of course, you had Alderweireld and
I remember when
Kane.
they smacked us 4-1 at Wembley.
Yeah, was that
where
season or the season before?
Lovren got taken off. He was that bad.
Season before, yeah.
They were a decent Spurs side that just didn't get the money to spend.
Yeah.
I mean, any team that has Kane up front, do you know what I mean? The Son,
Ali,
yeah.
Lucas.
They were a great team. I think the point is, though, you don't remember now the pressure that was on Klopp to perform, whether you could cut it in the Premier League.
It was a bit like Arteta at the moment, right? Like that need to finally get over the hump was huge.
And just force it over the line. And, I think in Europe our pedigree was obviously there, so there was this level of belief. But I think the pressure was very much on Klopp to prove he could do it as that guy. It wasn't as if it was like Rodgers, where it was like, well, we don't really believe in you. We totally believed in Klopp, but it was kind of like, well, was this just a nice journey that we're on where we will be the nearly guys?
And someone has to take over from him.
Yeah, because even
City were just unstoppable as well. It was
and we referenced the Dortmund game. I think people forget we got beat in the final quite comfortably
by Sevilla.
Yeah, Sevilla. Like, I remember Sturridge scored first, and then we just got destroyed.
Coke, right?
They just
they destroyed us. So everyone was like, okay, can Klopp do it in Europe? Like, can he do it in Europe?
He had lost the Carabao Cup to or whatever that was at the time, the League Cup final to City at that point as well too. Yeah.
There were big question marks over whether we could get over the line, and I think this team, the whole team, had a chip on their shoulder, which is also why I think Wijnaldum, when he's talking about the chip on their shoulder being not in the team, it was as much about I want to go out there and be part of this experience. So the running through walls thing, I think, was a very literal thing for this side. They wanted to go out there and prove they were the people to do it.
Yeah. And you know, when everyone talks about the final being boring, and look, I get it. As Liverpool fans, don't care, just win.
It was boring.
It's almost final. You're right, but the finals won from the lead up to the final, and I think everyone just sort of looks at the final. Sometimes you've got to look at the games you played in the lead up to it. And again, to beat that Barcelona side, it kind of is the final. That's what clinched us the Champions League, not necessarily the game against Spurs. So, yeah, Klopp needed it badly.
I think bear in mind we go on then to win, obviously, the Premier League after that. So that.
Well, that's why I was wondering, do you guys win the Premier League next season if you lose to Barcelona?
I wonder. I mean, I think hypothetically we were still a really great side. I think if anything, it makes them angrier and kind of more driven. But I just wonder if the belief does begin to wane. I think just
winning as well too, it cures everything. I think you just getting a taste of winning. I mean, Mourinho used to always say the first League Cup he won at Chelsea was the biggest one he won because it gave the side that know-how. I think Liverpool, it was similar.
And it also helped the squad as well. Like, Klopp was a bit like Slot. There was 100% a definite starting 11.
Core guys. Yeah, but bear in mind, the starting 11 that's never played
one
together.
Game, final, right? Yeah.
That was it. And there was only a few subs that came on. Do you know what I mean? Like, that was the end of Sturridge. Sturridge was obviously coming towards the end because of his injuries. Didn't really trust Rhian Brewster. Yeah. So to do it without your two key players that kind of link this all together in peak Salah. Like, people look about Salah now and saying he can't run. Back then, he was the fastest right-sided winger you could think about. And Firmino was just a genius. So to do it without those, it's almost like it's a boost to the whole squad. Like, you're all important. Shaqiri, you are so important to us.
Shaqiri was important.
You're important to us.
Origi was cult hero, but Shaqiri for me, I think,
was that the start of the Origi cult hero status? I'm trying to think. Was it before?
Was the Everton goal that season?
When was the
Everton?
Everton goal was it that season or after?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
I'm trying to remember if it's the season after that. I'm trying to remember what the kit is.
I think that might have been the start of that. Might have been it.
It was kind of like you're that guy. I think maybe we're underestimating because now we know what Klopp went on to achieve. People are talking about this season, they're talking about Arsenal's worst front line, all these kind of things. This is the equivalent of Arsenal playing like an inverted... So Saka would play on the left.
Yeah.
Trossard would then have to go on the right, probably playing Gyökeres.
Havertz through the middle.
But Havertz at least has got pedigree here.
It's technically,
It is like playing Gyökeres through the middle and go out there and beat.
Who
are they? Who in
Except
Europe
Gyökeres cost 65 million.
Who's the Barcelona of Europe now?
Who's the Barcelona? It might be
Bayern Munich,
Juve, maybe Bayern.
Definitely not Juve. Go and beat them. Stop Kane from scoring.
Yeah.
And make sure Luis Diaz doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
And Elise.
And all the while, you have like, I don't even know, Mikel Merino playing up front.
Right. Yeah, maybe it's Mikel Merino or someone like that.
Yeah, that's kind of that's it. That's a perfect shout. Yeah.
And that's where I think the belief element and the doubters to believers thing became a bit of more of a thing. You then have the iconic parade. This was the parades become a thing.
Yeah.
Because we hadn't really had that before. Like the Klopp parade's taken a different air because over the period you get the Champions League one where he has the iconic moment at the back of the bus where he counts, and that's so satisfying. That just becomes a gift.
Let's talk about 6.
Yeah, exactly. And he's beginning to have this kind of momentum, and then the league. So there's a great parade for that. Then we go through a bit of a drought, and then we do a parade for the double, which is actually a disappointing quadruple.
Yeah, I remember that one.
But the double parade is actually a great parade. I was there again for that. It was a really good parade. It was a great day in Liverpool.
Dude, you've jumped. Let's talk about the parade after the game. Like, people don't leave Anfield for an hour.
Yeah.
Like, everyone normally is trying to get home as quick as humanly possible. And he does that lineup in front of the cop.
Yeah.
And it's so emotional. Yeah. And that's when I said we'd won the Champions League. It was because of that. I was like, you're not doing that and you're losing the final. That moment there where everyone's together, and that's when you maybe really first see the never give up shirt that Salah's wearing. And you're thinking, oh my God, Like this was in the stars.
I
This was
always
meant
feel
to be.
like Klopp. We look at the silverware compared to maybe the greatest, and that's where he kind of falls short. But people really forget he had this club in the fans like eating out of the palm of his hands.
Yeah,
Honestly, what he built is just wow.
Like trophies, and that's why I'm happy that Salah's won sort of 2 Premier Leagues and Van Dijk's.
Different managers.
It helps. But yeah, people that didn't witness this era will look at the trophies that Klopp won for Liverpool, and it won't tell them the full story of just how good and important Klopp was for Liverpool. Sorry, how good he was. Just
I'll never
incredible.
forget against West Brom when you guys drew 2-2 and like
And
the
he
way,
did that. But he was doing it for a reason,
100%,
right? Just to get the fans on board. Like, okay, we're starting
he had
something.
the fans eating out of the palm of his hand, and
all the fist pumps.
yeah,
The fist
and
pumps
that's
were just
that's not easy to do, right? Because
Yeah.
normally winning does that, but he really did that through belief.
Yeah.
100%.
And he was the figure everyone wanted him to be, and he played that role. He's an extremely performative manager.
100%.
And I think that's where maybe a lot of people now have the issues with Slot, is he's almost not performative in any way. But he just doesn't. I feel bad for him almost, because people are putting this like cookie cutter idea on him that if you're not Klopp, then you're nothing. And actually, Klopp isn't probably up there with Mourinho as the most performative managers, and kind of instilling this belief in players.
Us against the world, man.
Yeah, and that I think goes underestimated, because
100%.
you can kind of pull it out when you need it. And to an extent, you would say maybe we didn't win as much because there were times where we sort of thought, well, we can just keep going and we'll pull it out. Actually, maybe if we got a few more lessons, we might have won maybe 2 Premier Leagues in that time, just to get us over the line.
Look, I mean, look what Slot did. I mean, that small change, Gravenberch coming in as being the 6, and all of a sudden unleashing Gakpo, and maybe just that control was missing at times from Klopp, where he just like, let's slow it down a little bit.
Yeah.
That was
right.
it.
It's a bit too fast. There,
Linders.
but that's just how he was.
That's Pep Linders.
Yeah,
And
that's
that's
how
where
he was.
City are at right now.
If you rank Trent's set piece, where does that rank for you guys amongst your favorite individual moments in Liverpool history that
In
you've
terms
watched?
of Trent's moments or just Liverpool moments in general.
Yeah, individual Liverpool moments. Obviously, you got Gerrard versus Olympiacos. You've got so many, but in terms of just importance, in terms of just genius, in terms of euphoria in the moment, how high does that rank for you guys?
It's up there. The Gerrard moments they're special in a different ways.
Especially because they're so emphatic, Gerrard's moments. It's like,
Yeah, Salah's had some moments like that. No, it's not a set piece, whatever, but that Salah against Man City, where he just sort of brushes off their defenders. Like just the way in which he just glides the ball with his left foot past Bernardo Silva. It's just beautiful.
you know what it is with Gerrard, though, right? It's the commentary for him, right? That's what Gerrard, like, it's
His
something about that.
beauty
Yeah,
when he's
yeah.
Sky used that as their thing for a while, like that the advert was "You
beauty,"
Beauty," and he's wheeling away, and he's doing that pump in the.
So I think with Gerrard, that's always what helps it. But Trent is just
You know
so
the thing about Gerrard, the reason why
innovative.
it's always
pure,
going to be Gerrard moments is because that Liverpool team weren't great when, like, literally it was give the ball to Gerrard. And we had certain players that came and went, Alonso came, but it was literally give the ball to Gerrard. Well, this Liverpool team that you're referring to, where Trent played with, we had so many good players.
Yeah.
That there was so many, like, oh my God, these players could fit into somehow a Premier League all-time 11. Like, do you know what I mean? Whereas Gerrard, it was literally just Gerrard. So Gerrard moments just seem so much bigger because you're thinking, if Gerrard doesn't do it, nobody else is doing it.
We'd been on the journey with Gerrard by that point, and I think at that point it was the beginning of it with Trent, and he was fantastic. Like his technical ability was next level, and it really changed that side. I don't think we quite knew how good he was quite at that point. I think now, obviously, you know what he can do.
I was going to say, do you feel now in this moment, you realize even more so how good he was now that he's gone?
I think by the point that he left,
We knew.
the reason it kind of hurt people so much was because we knew we could have probably gotten even more out of him. But we also, to an extent, we'd run him into the road during this Klopp era, and he kind of just been like, this is partially why he's probably not in this Real Madrid team right now. He's probably just exhausted. You know, you can either bounce off that exhaustion and go somewhere else and you get that new change. I think he's gone away, and there's a bit of heartbreak in that, and that's
He's been a bit unfortunate with the injuries.
It's really unfortunate.
It
I
is,
feel
but
really bad for him.
Again, that's what we're saying. I mean, that engine room doesn't just apply to the midfield. Like, all those players have been ran into the absolute... Like, Mane, Bayern Munich. Like, that was always going to work. Surely it's Mane. He was the best left-sided player in the world.
towards the end of
Did
that
not
season.
work.
Yeah,
Like, literally. Wijnaldum, PSG. Like, all these players that went after leaving Liverpool, literally
Fabinho burnt out quick for as good as his prime was.
Henderson survived a bit because he went to Saudi where it was a bit slower, but every other player just went off a cliff.
Hendo also obviously captained that Ajax team that almost won the league, and they collapsed.
Yeah.
And then he's done pretty well.
He's done well for Brentford.
Yeah. But I think the point is, you're right about individual moments. I think the problem is like Liverpool just had so many great individuals that it's kind of like that sits in the pantheon of probably about 20 to 30 amazing moments. Yeah. And Anfield specifically, it's a great moment. We probably had other ones we're more emotionally attached.
You know what it is though? It's in terms of instinctive. It might be the best instinctive moment. When I think of who it is against, the moment, the age of the player doing it.
Did he get a mural for that moment? Was that his mural?
I actually don't know.
That's a good point.
Is that
was it after that? I think it was maybe a couple of years after.
No, because the mural is more of his shoulders just hanging. I can't remember what the mural is, but it's...
And his hair's longer. His hair's in that kind of dreadlock phase, isn't it?
Good for great hair phases for Trent.
Yeah, I mean, he's had everything.
He looks so young there, though, because he's still got that kind of just like generic FIFA cut.
And he's so much more skinnier. Like Trent now is so stocky, so big and wide.
Yeah, he's big.
Back then it was almost like peak Trent, but no, honestly, it must be. I love him to know that was his best moment in a Liverpool shirt.
I'm sure.
Probably his best moment.
Yeah, that game against Leicester where he was fantastic.
Yeah,
Remember
and
that
he's pinged some balls left and right, but that must be his best moment as well.
I just wonder, the thing with Trent, and maybe we just don't want to get too much into it, but I just wonder how much the whole Real Madrid move and him knowing so much ahead of time and the excitement of those things took away from a lot of his momentum. And I wonder, it's not, again, I don't really begrudge him the move anymore. I think we've all processed that and we can all understand why a player goes to Real Madrid. If he hadn't have had that, I guess there is that kind of, there's the fork in the road moment where you do wonder if he hadn't have ever considered going somewhere else and it was just this double down on Liverpool, I'm that guy.
Yeah, in an alternate reality, what does he look like?
Where he does have a bit of a Gerrard status. Because I've been to a few games where I watched him breathe, do that thing, and then go, right, I'm going to take the game by the scruff of the neck.
That game against PSG in the second leg before he went out, I thought he was running the game from right back.
And
it's very difficult for a defender to have that status, I think.
Yeah.
Well, but when they're given it through the becoming that quarterbacky style player and the way that he could just spray the ball and also the way that Liverpool would just set up with the runners to just have that, it gave him way more status. And I think Liverpool are struggling and moving away from that because Salah's hanging on to, this is how I score goals. And, you know, we're not quite set up in that new way yet. But it was a weird game in Toulouse, I think it was, where I was in the crowd and we were actually losing and we ended up losing the game anyway because a goal gets chalked off by VAR. I watched him as I think he'd just become vice captain, basically puff out his chest and go, I'm going to take control of this. And he just suddenly looked twice as big.
I'll tell you what, he's not the best fullback I've ever seen, but I've never seen a fullback with that much importance from an attacking point of view.
You know what,
in terms of like, he was such a main character in the team.
Yeah,
There's been better fullbacks for me, but they were just fullbacks.
No,
he's like a main character.
Klopp also instilled.
This is what I was about to say. Like Klopp, when we spoke about like Klopp making Salah, and obviously Salah may be falling off now because it's no longer Klopp and Slop. What Klopp allowed Trent to do, and the players that covered Trent around him, like the legwork Hendo did, knowing that Trent's going to go and I have to go back in, or even Konate to an extent, when Konate was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm playing right back and sort of right-sided centre-back. He was, wasn't he? Because Trent was literally just given a free reign and roll.
It works both ways, though, no? Because you even look at that midfield and you're talking about the industry that they provide, but that midfield does nothing if it isn't for the fullbacks being offensive wizards, right? So, so much of Klopp's system was also Trent just being the biggest chance creator, bar De Bruyne.
Trent and Robbo were our most creative players.
Robbo is the second most assists ever in the Premier League for a fullback. So it's not like that's that shows how important they were to that system, but also how much they want it back. Yeah. I also think looking back at games like this reminds me of what a potential tinderbox of a team that Liverpool team was, where it's like egos and how much Klopp had to keep all of this in like a perfect balance between everyone, because all the interviews about games like this, almost all those players talk about it from their own perspective as if they were the man. So I think Allison might be the only one who I've ever heard just talk about it as a team. Van Dijk talks about keeping them out. Hendo talks about the immense amount of effort he had on that night. Milner's just kind of, no wankers in the team. That's his thing. I think in retrospect, there may have been a few guys who were a little bit up themselves. Yeah. Mane, totally from his own perspective, but on the night, like really, he was just about industry and stretching that back line. Origi, it's totally about Origi for Origi. Wijnaldum, it's totally about him. Salah turns up, as if going to a wedding in a white dress, basically going, never give up. That's the message. And the same, Firmino, I think, is one of those guys who probably is a bit of a self-sacrificer. But Shaqiri's like, hey, it's my time to shine. Klopp totally balances that team for years.
He does.
In a perfect way.
But it's also a team without Milner, of players that haven't won anything.
Right.
So it's almost as though it's a team that had something to prove. All of them individually had something to prove because yes, they've won individual awards and Salah's won awards, etc., etc. But in terms of actually who's got the trophy cabinet, it's empty. Like, there's a few trophies here and there, but no one's packed the big ones apart from Milner. So it was a team that I think was desperate to collectively win something. Maybe when you look at the Barcelona team, that's a team that's won so much.
They were at the end of their cycle, yeah.
Whereas Liverpool was a start of something very, very special. So it was a team desperate to get over the line.
100%. You mentioned the Robertson substitution as being a moment you'd forgotten. Any other moments that watching this game back came to you and you had just completely forgotten about it?
Just how different outfits were back then. I just don't think anyone had any like that as an outfit from Salah. It's inspirational in terms of the message. The actual motif, I'm not feeling it. It's a bit of a strange thing to turn up to a game wearing, and it's horrific.
What happens if you guys lose that game, by the way? Is the hoodie zipped up?
That was one thing. That was one thing that we're actually not mentioning right now.
It's crazy.
The Real Madrid game the year before, Salah had that interview before about it being the fruition of all the work they'd done.
Yeah.
This game, if he's wearing that T-shirt and we go out,
that's like, yo, please, bro, like
zip up, bro. Like, that's the point. He then does it again when we play Real Madrid in another final where he kind of says, oh, this is where we're going to get revenge.
Yeah.
We could have been that team where it's almost like we talk a lot.
Salah just talks way too much.
Way too much. That's what I think a lot of us are forgetting here is there is again, that fine balance and how much egos kind of come into it. That's what I forget
how bad the bench was.
Sure, Ryan Brewster was.
Yeah, when you start to Wikipedia players and like where are they now type thing.
So what was
like Dejan Lovren, who was for me like calamity Lovren. I mean, he had his moments, but calamity, right?
Sure.
Gomez, who wasn't injured, but still at the time a young defender.
He hadn't had that season we all think of now.
No, he hadn't. Right, so he was that guy just waiting. Could he be something? Could he not be something? Ryan Brewster, everyone was like hyped about him, but ultimately nothing. Ben Woodburn, like Klopp was at bare bones. The only one he really could bring on was Wijnaldum.
Yeah.
That was it. That was the go-to sub. Nothing else. So literally it was 12 players that beat Barcelona. That's it. There was nothing more than that. So there was nothing else he could do. Like Ryan Brewster, as good as he was for the under-21s for Liverpool, he's not coming on and scoring against PK. It's just not happening.
Not against that physical.
No chance. So we were as light as humanly possible.
Yeah.
And I do forget sometimes the subs bench. I look at it thinking, oh, there's going to be stars. No. The subs bench was players that started. Shaqiri, Origi, they were our subs. Milner were the subs that we normally bring on. So
it was a tight-knit group for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
We talked a little bit about the impact this had on Liverpool going forward in terms of do they win the league? This probably spurred them on to have the season they did the next year. But talking about Barca a little bit, I feel like this was the loss that really... I know Messi would leave a few years later, but I think this ended Messi's reign at Barcelona where they just seemed to be unbeatable. I think this... The next year they lose 8-2 to Bayern, and then the following season... It just felt like Barca had slowly started becoming a bit more mortal. I think this night right here really killed it for Barca.
This ended Coutinho.
Oh, yeah. I think it ended Suarez. Suarez for me
Suarez still kind of played on because him and Messi are best friends. So it's like, okay, you're staying
But even him,
me.
he was gone 2 seasons
later. But Coutinho,
later.
this was like, oh my God, you're actually not that guy.
Yeah.
And they've obviously made a few mistakes. Dembele cost big money. But this was like, again, we spoke about Coutinho being a Xavi Iniesta type, like technically on their level. But not, don't give me that look. Technically,
Coutinho on Iniesta Xavi's level.
Technically,
lost me there,
not as good collectively.
I'm not gonna lie. You lost me there a little bit there. This is like the Turkey verse. What do you mean by technically?
But I think that's when Barcelona fans are like, he's not that guy for us. That we're going to have to do a complete whole reset here.
And only until recently have they actually started getting back to a level where you're like, oh, this is Barca again.
Yeah.
And that's how that's what, 5-6 years later.
The pressure was on Barca to perform, though, because it also felt as if at that time there's still pressure between Ronaldo and Messi. And it's sort of like who can add to their legacy, more trophies and all these kind of things. And then there's also this idea that Barcelona just need to keep it going. And the worry that when the Messi era ends, what do we do next? Do we have the managers? No managers seem to be able to get a handle on the team and the mentality in the way that previous guys had.
How many managers have they had since that?
So they've had, this was Valverde, then they had Setien, who was a complete failure. Then they had Ronald Koeman, who was a failure.
Exactly.
Then Xavi came in and rebuilt it, and now they have Hansi Flick. But you know, until last year, this was their last semi-final appearance in the Champions League.
It's crazy.
Until last season. So they really went through a rut. Obviously, the Messi leaving happened. They really have gone through this Pedri and Yamal thing now, but it's been a long
Their hammer-ins in Europe needs to be
bad.
discussed.
They're
a bit
bad.
more.
They're bad. They're
Like,
bad.
yeah,
They're bad.
they have been smashed in Europe by
Yeah.
teams, which is like how?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've had a couple of good comebacks as well. Like,
100%.
But they've been smashed, and good Barcelona sides as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
But
sides that should be better.
I think this loss really this was bad. This was a bad loss for Barcelona. I don't think it's one they ever recovered until recently.
I think that's the other side of Klopp. Obviously, we'll remember how many trophies he won, and probably smaller amount than other managers. Recovering from losses, he seems exceptional at that.
Yeah.
Because we went to plenty of finals in the time that he was there. We didn't win all of them. He won a lot. He won the full complement of trophies in terms of what we could have won, but we didn't win everything. And I think people forget that how quickly that could take the wind out of a manager's sails. If it's another manager in that position, I don't know if he recovers in the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing this Liverpool side did have is so many like captains and vice captains and leaders. You look at that side and you think of Jordan Henderson, vice captain of England. Obviously, Van Dijk went on to become the Dutch captain. Andy Robertson, Scotland captain.
Salah.
Alisson's a
Salah,
leader.
do you know what I mean? Like
Salah,
these are the
Mane.
main players. Yes, Mane for Senegal. These are literally the leaders of their countries all coming together. And that's what we had as well. So yes,
Milner.
Klopp certainly instilled it on them, but these players are naturally leaders for countries.
We never really stopped building like that. We've always tried to there's national captains throughout the team now.
course.
That's
Yeah.
the same
Of
analytics
course.
team.
Yeah. What do you think was the most 2019 thing about this game?
The hoodie.
Can I say this, by the way? Just about this
Now,
tournament in
Vidal's
general.
haircut.
Vidal's haircut.
Vidal's haircut.
To
Vidal's
be honest,
haircut.
that's the most 2015 thing about this game.
Yeah, actually, he's about a
That's
decade
Vidal
behind.
hanging on to Vidal. If we're talking about dads, Vidal's that dad at school where everyone goes, "She's coming down."
Yeah, allow me, man.
Yeah,
Dad, just park the car and I'll...
Yeah, just go the other end. That's and Matip, Van Dijk, and Allison all go to the other end of the car park. In terms of 2019 things, Anfield. We've changed the stands since then.
Yes, oh
so
my God, of course.
That's also weird.
I think this was the best Champions League campaign I saw, and I say this as a United fan, so this is saying a lot. But I think if you look from start to finish in that campaign, the amount of classic games there were. You had United beating PSG in the Champions League that year. You had Spurs having that game against City in the Champions League. You had Ajax's win.
Ajax is mental.
Yeah, you had Ajax
Spurs is
Ajax
mental.
knocking out Real Madrid 4-1 at the
Yeah.
Bernabeu. You had so many amazing
That
games. in this
Ajax
tournament.
side, you're right. That Frankie de Jong, like
The
was
league.
like-
Eric Ten
yeah.
Hag was the coach of that team.
Yeah.
They were
Like
unbelievable.
crazy.
They were so good. I think there were so many amazing games. Even you guys in the group stage, you nearly went out to Napoli. I think there were so many great games in the Champions League this year. And in fact, it was the first year that they introduced VAR into this. I think it was the first year VAR was in the Champions League.
I think so because
Yeah.
we had to check a couple of things.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird looking at Van Dijk. Van Dijk doesn't look old now, like facially, but he looks so young then. Like he's
His
like,
face looks rounder.
Yes, it looks rounder. Like he's now, as you get older, I'm guessing he's now so much onto his diet just to stay. But I guess back then it's kind of whatever, right? I'm obviously still very healthy, but now he's obviously as strict as humanly possible. And even his hair is not as slicked back as it is
Yeah.
now. Like now it's slicked back. Before it's very Afro-ish. So Van Dijk just looks so different.
Fresh.
Yeah, I wish
Yeah.
he was that guy again.
Robbo also, I think you can see Robbo's energy.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane. And Allison also, I think Allison has gone through a lot of change in his life since then. He's kind of matured as a goalkeeper. But the Napoli thing you bring up, that is quite interesting because, again, that's totally an Allison.
Yeah.
We don't make that final without Allison.
Oh, yeah, that's Savon Mertens. Huge.
Yeah, we don't make that
100%.
final without Allison in that team.
Yeah, it doesn't happen.
If it's Karius there, his team is demoralised and gone.
Who was man of the match? Was it Wijnaldum? I'd love to know who was man of
I
the
think
match. in that game.
Wijnaldum would have won it.
Yeah.
Who would you guys say is unsung hero of the game?
Milner.
Milner's in there.
Milner.
I think Hendo is
Milner's
also...
dirty work. Like, if there was just a camera.
Maybe Allison, though, no?
I think Allison's up
Allison,
there.
yeah.
He doesn't have any
But he's not unsung.
particularly difficult saves
Yeah.
to make, I would say, in that night.
Yeah, if anything goes in, you're like, come on, Allison. If there was just a camera on Milner, watching the work ethic that Milner put, I'd love to know the kilometers Milner runs in that game. He is everywhere.
Leap test, man.
Even to the final point, right, when he goes into the corner and kind of sits on the ball. I mean, that's the
Puts it between his
95th
legs.
minute.
I'm pretty sure it's actually an illegal move in football.
Yeah, he doesn't
You're not allowed
These
to
days,
lock
I think
the ball.
it's illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that makes it legal is he's got his legs around it, and then Wijnaldum comes in and goes, "I'm going to just
let me
plant my
take
foot
that.
on top of it," and then you just can't get it out. And the referee's like, "Oh, screw this, blow the whistle."
I think that's the thing with that midfield, right? You could never accuse any of them of cheating you for effort.
No.
Like, they are putting every last percentile of their tank into this game. Sensational. I don't think we're going to agree. I don't think any of you guys will say yes, but is this the greatest comeback in Champions League history? I think the one we did the last time was probably takes that, right?
Just because it's the final.
Let me ask you this, actually. Is this the greatest two-legged comeback, right? I think Deportivo had one against Milan when they were down 4-0. I think they won I think they won the tie 5-4 after being down 4-0 or something like that.
And then the rest of them have happened against Barcelona.
If you
Barcelona
deconstruct it, it'll probably be no. But it's because it's Messi and you just see Messi, Ballon d'Or winner, greatest player ever. And you think a Messi side not scoring, you're probably going to say yes. But I think once you look down really at that Barcelona side, it's not a strong Barcelona side.
The fact they didn't score that night is
mentally
still
they
crazy.
were mentally they just fragile. I think it was a good team, but it was mentally they just weren't there, man. Seriously.
Yeah.
And I think the reason 05 is so big is because that AC Milan team feel imperious.
Oh, yeah.
There isn't really an excuse. If you wanted to take something away here as a Manchester United fan, you could be like, well, Barcelona really that good? Like, you know, they were sort of at the end
It
of
was
their life
at least
cycle.
at the very least you guys were leveled, right? Like here, Milan versus Liverpool. We talked about
Milan
right?
versus Liverpool, it's like the perfect
David versus
amalgamation of age, experience, youth. Just like that Milan side is, and we're the opposite. That Milan side is just at Carlo Ancelotti.
Yeah.
So no weaknesses anywhere. Obviously, we know now Ancelotti's gone on to maybe be one of the best, like top 5 managers of all time, Ancelotti.
He might be. Is he the greatest?
There's an argument. There is like, when you look at his trophy cabinet here, dude, if he wins the World Cup with Brazil,
Yeah, I can't
he will
argue
probably
that.
go down as the
If
greatest manager of all
breaks
time.
an over 20-year spell.
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah,
lie.
he
Even
might
me,
be the greatest manager of all time.
I'm riding with Fergie till the death, but if he does that, I can't
Yeah,
lie.
he might
It's
just
looking
be
peak, man. Like,
Don't get me wrong. I think Fergie's the greatest in maybe Britain. But
I think
Ancelotti,
world football have Ancelotti above.
Yeah.
I think Ancelotti, it's always the league argument with him that he just didn't
If we
do
can
enough
just scrub off
domestically.
what happened at Everton,
Yeah.
like take that off the CV, like he never went there.
Well, like when Mourinho
Like, how
says, I don't think of Spurs.
yeah, like didn't happen.
I don't think Ancelotti. I think Ancelotti was actually on holiday and just lived near the Everton.
Tell you what, he didn't do that bad with Everton. I think when you look back at it, I honestly don't think he did that bad.
In relative terms.
Yeah, relative to what was he expecting? They were going to win the league with him. I think they did okay.
I think you are right though. I don't think it's the greatest, but I think 05 is up there. I still think Klopp. I think Klopp is serially underrated. And I think he just doesn't get the credit for, on that night, there's tactical changes he makes. He's very astute in the briefing of the players and the way he sets Liverpool up. People lean too much into the emotional side with Klopp and they don't talk enough about how precise pressing was under Klopp and how it was basically like an army drill out on the field.
Here's the thing. I think nowadays when we look at tactics, right, I feel like we have this idea that unless you're like some super in-depth manager like a De Zerbi or now an Arteta or a Guardiola, the opposite of that is, you're just a vibes manager, right? I look at all the Man United always got hit with that tag. Sometimes it's like, if you're not inverting your fullbacks and you're not overloading it, then you're not a tactical manager. Ancelotti gets hit with, he just throws them out there. But I think that's the thing with like Klopp. There's so much in depth that goes into it. It's not just a case of you just tell your players to go out there and enjoy the.
And you can see that when you see the way that Pep Linders speaks about it, and also just I think speak to any of the players and they'll probably talk about how simple it is. But I think there's the depth of thought that Klopp will have to go to get it to be that simple for the players is huge. And I also think pressing isn't the same if Klopp doesn't enter the English league.
Definitely.
Because it can sort of remain in Germany if Klopp stays in the Bundesliga. The fact he comes to England means that you have to keep up with.
You know my favorite thing about Klopp? My favorite thing about Klopp is that Pep came to the Premier League and every single manager copied what Pep did. They tried to mimic it. And Klopp he not only didn't do that, but he went toe-to-toe with Pep doing it his own way. That's the thing I will always respect because I've seen so many people talk about the Premier League getting boring and stuff. And I don't blame Pep for that. I blame other managers for not being innovative enough to combat that in their own style.
And look, there's one thing going toe-to-toe with Man City, peak Man City at Anfield. He went toe-to-toe at the Etihad.
Yeah.
Like that goal that Liverpool scored at the Etihad, the one where Robertson crosses it down for Firmino heading. Obviously, it's about passing. That there alone is Klopp football. But again, everyone would think of heavy metal football, Genga press, all that nonsense. Klopp had so many ways of beating you. Even the idea of that diagonal Van Dijk used to send to Salah all the time.
Yeah,
that's Klopp
so
sending him
good.
to that diagonal was amazing.
And was that which season was it where we beat Bayern Munich in the way?
This is the season.
Yeah,
same season.
That's Mane also had
Van
that
Dijk
ball
to
out
Mane.
from Van Dijk,
Yeah.
and
Van Dijk,
Mane does that
that pass
turn,
was crazy.
sends Neuer the wrong way. It was the fruition of everything. But I think you're right about this. I think Pep does look at some of Klopp's goals and goes, I want a little bit of that. Yeah. In the same way, I'd imagine Klopp sort of goes, I could borrow a bit from here and here.
No, Klopp
I think the other way
definitely
around.
looked
When he brought Thiago in,
when he brought Thiago, when he brought Keita, he looked at that Man City midfield and thought, okay, we need something a bit different here. Because that midfield.
Well, let me ask you this. If we were to split responsibility here into 100%, how much percent credit are you giving to Klopp for this night? How much are you giving to the players? And how much are you giving to Anfield?
Ooh, that's a great question.
So
Don't tell me 33, 33,
Yeah, no,
30.
You saw me say. I think it is. There's a 33 in there somewhere.
There is a 30.
So I think the third of it is Anfield. I think it might even be 40% of it.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's very high.
Yeah.
I then think
Go on.
40% of the players, 20% Klopp.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I was gonna go 50 Anfield. Because when they
Very
go
high.
loud, they go loud.
It's something that I think you don't really get on TV because the mix sometimes just takes everything out of Anfield.
insane.
It's
It's
you
insane.
can't replicate it on speakers. I took my wife there towards the end of the Klopp reign, and on TV she would always kind of go, "Come on." Like, yeah.
This is what you're always hoping.
It's a song. Like, come on. We were against Spurs, so we didn't even really have to sing that much. But it was like, she got there, and when she left, she was like, oh, I get this now. I totally get it. And so she's like constantly saying to me now, take our son.
I'd go
Take our
50,
son. He's got to
30,
go.
20.
That's
50
it.
Anfield, 30 players, 20 Klopp.
You'll just never understand it. The only other places actually I think I've experienced it. I think Old Trafford on a special night is Old Trafford's a bit more aggressive.
St James's
It's
Park
a
on
very
special night
aggressive.
as well.
St James's
St.
Park
James's
again,
Park.
slightly more aggressive. Anfield is not about intimidation. It's about we've got something special happening here. You just happen to be here.
Old Trafford is more a case of, because I've been on Old Trafford special nights, and I think Lyon last year is the biggest example. Old Trafford is just this never say die thing. It's like the 90th minute rolls around and the crowd is like, oh my God, something's happening right now.
You know the big thing about Liverpool as opposed to a lot of other teams, and I think anyway, there's atmospheres and then there's the player songs that I don't really hear a lot in Premier League sides. Like the other clubs would have their
You're
songs.
Arsenal, but they're just,
Liverpool
a remix of
literally.
yours.
Gabriel.
Liverpool will literally go out of their way to think of, okay, we need a song for this player. We need to create a song.
You guys do that well.
Intense effort.
You guys do that
Incredible.
well.
Great effort
And you know
goes
what?
into these.
Yeah, great effort.
Yeah.
And imagine a player. Imagine Wijnaldum wasn't our best Wijnaldum song. Do you know what I mean? Like Wijnaldum's probably thinking, jeez, I've got a song.
Did I get that?
Did I get a song? Did you hear that? Luis Diaz, same thing. So it's not always the superstar player. It's a player. Like literally, when they feel like a player needs a song, they will come collectively. And I don't think many other Premier League sides,
Yeah,
world
we got a
sides
few.
have
I
that.
can't lie. We got
some.
we got a few.
Yeah,
Cantona
Man United and Liverpool are very similar.
We're
That's
very-
why we don't
very-
like each
we're
other.
very
that's
traditional
why.
clubs.
Yeah,
We're
very, very
traditional,
similar. Yeah.
We would have had the same kits if Shankly hadn't have changed it. Because we
Yeah.
had white shorts at one point.
Yeah.
And then he changed
to
it
red
to
and
all
red.
red. He
That's
went
why
all
there
red.
is a
In fact,
genuine
we had red.
dislike. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's so similar. The clubs are so similar.
We have red shirt, white shorts, white socks. And he changed it to all red.
I can just imagine Lissandro hearing Argentina.
Imagine what that does. Imagine what that mate, he'll run through walls.
Yeah, bro.
Do you know what I mean?
You got
And
the whole
that's what-
Stratford percentage.
Yeah.
Argentina. Oh my
Okay,
goodness.
it's not a United talk. This is
Anyways, final question: does this night define the Klopp era more than any other night in his time at Liverpool?
So, you know what I think for me sticks out above this?
Ooh.
Was actually the year before that on the way to the Champions League final.
3-1 at Etihad or 2-1.
It's actually the 3-0 at Anfield.
The Oxlade-Chamberlain long
The
shot.
Oxlade-Chamberlain absolute
That's the first
killer.
time I felt, something's happening over
We
there.
came out of the blocks,
Yeah.
and Anfield, I think we were shocked. I was at that game, weirdly, with Calfreezy, and we're in the top of the main stand. And at the time, the chat was the main stand had been changed, and it was like, a bit of the soul has been ripped out the stadium. The sound goes up into it, and who's in that stand? Are they actually going to sing? Too much has changed. Klopp's got a challenge on, but everything was. He also, in rebuilding that main stand, had the time to make a new tunnel, change the dressing room, all these kind of things. And we attacked the bus. On that night, and it was apparently very intimidating to the City
So
players.
this is Champions League.
That was Champions League first leg.
There was two games in the Prem. There was a game in the Prem.
That was
where you
also
guys beat them as
unpleasant.
well, too.
Yeah.
But
But
when Salah
you're talking about the
Anderson-
four.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this was the Champions League.
Yeah.
And we knocked them out. And obviously, I went to both those legs, and City were kind of playing up. I think at that point, we won 3-0. But we weren't feeling quite as confident because we knew Pep could take us back
I
to
remember they scored early as well. Sterling, didn't they?
This is
horrible. I wanted to vomit then.
This is Centurion City. Right? United were competing for the league. I felt helpless that year. 100 points. They were beating everybody. But Liverpool were the team that seemed to have their
we were
number.
the
This
Craw
is
in the
peak
side.
Man
Yeah.
City.
Yeah.
But this is no weakness City.
Yeah.
Like this is.
They were so good.
Yeah, so good.
It felt like you guys were the only team that year that actually knew how to play against
On
them.
that night, we knocked them out.
Yeah.
3-0. They just had no response. And it was so emphatic. We beat them in every aspect. Their passing, they didn't know where to put it. It really felt like that was us going, yeah, here we are.
That was the moment I felt, Liverpool, there's something going on over there.
It might be the return leg, though, at Etihad.
Yeah.
That was horrible.
It might be that one, because it was horrible, but that final goal, Salah, right?
The dink.
Little dink, and then he just stands there kind of thing like that. And you're thinking, this could be it, Yeah. This could be, we could be that team.
Could we also completely... I was there, weirdly, on that night with Stephen Tries, and Paul Machin was standing on the other side of me. So it was like... I was stood there with these YouTube guys, we were all looking at each other, just going, what the hell is going on? And I think everyone on that night said, I just want to be sick. It was horrible because it felt like so much hung in the balance for this Liverpool side. We'd gone and done the 3-0 thing. If they then did the other to us, it was like, well, we're equal. Yeah. We deflated the Etihad on that night. It was, the atmosphere went from, yes, we could get them, to, oh no, we're done.
Guys, this has been a very harrowing experience for myself.
How dare you?
I've tried my best to remain as objective.
Your body language betrays your words.
But regardless, we do it for you guys' pleasure. Thank you so much to Lawrence McKenna and Ade Oladipo for joining me to speak about Liverpool 4, Barcelona 0. A huge, emphatic result in the Champions League that season. Please leave a like, share, subscribe, and all of the above. And we'll see you very, very soon for the next episode of Rematch. Peace.